thought I'd go through some of the infills that are around in the world, that a lot that we don't see. Obviously, down the bottom in the middle, we've got SBR. I mean, that's still probably the most efficient and cost-effective, and from a playability point of view, the recycled truck tyres is still a great product, but obviously it's having some negativity, or it's had negativity through the years, trying to be linked to carcinogens and people getting cancer from it. There's enough arguments to and for to say yes, it may have, or no, there's no signs of it. There's enough studies that have gone on with it, but from a playability point of view and cost effectiveness, it's still the best performance infill going around. TPE and EPTM, they're the two elite that we put in our specification for a second option most of the time. They're basically virgin rubbers. TPE can be nearly the same type of material as the synthetic grass itself, same properties, just chopped up and made into little granules, but they're virgin materials. They certainly come at a cost. In general, over a soccer field, 8,000 square metres, you're going to pay an extra $100,000 for the benefit of using a virgin material, a virgin rubber, compared to a recycled rubber. Yes, it can come in different colours, but you can get SBR in different colours. There's companies out there, especially in England, that actually coat SBR. They'll put a coating on it, a polyethylene coating, so you can get your greens. You got to remember, I mean, it's a byproduct of tyres, and we don't want tyres to break down in a hurry. So I think partly they came in colours. It gets away from the carcinogens, because the real problem with SBR is to know where the source is, and there's strict regulations. Truck tyres can come from many different sources around the world in terms of where they're made and what's been put in them. So there are truck tyres that you'd never want to use in a sports field just due to the products that they've been made from. So predominantly you've got a virgin material in EPDM and TPE that doesn't have that, and has a stronger tensile strength, as in doesn't pull apart or doesn't fray around the edges. And I think the colours are what really sell it in terms of SBR being black and hot. There was a little it's a bit of a myth that if I go green rubber it's cooler, if I go white rubber it's cooler. There's been universities testing over in the US where they tested about 10 different coloured rubbers and black rubber, and the only difference in heat is about 1 to 1.5 degrees. Rubber's rubber. It's a heat bank. It takes UV light in and stores it. So doesn't matter what colour it is, you really don't get a lot of benefit. The other one that was an organic infill, and the original organic infills were a mixture of predominantly coconut peat up the top, which is the husk around the outside of the coconut, and cork. And cork is off a cork tree, and cork trees are a sustainable tree. They're harvested every 9 years, so the bark, as it grows out, they take they have an ability to shave the outer bark layer, and then the tree just keeps growing. So from that point of view, it's from a sustainability point of view, it's great. Coconut peat, the husk on the outside, is obviously a byproduct, so that's a great option as well. When they're mixed together, the problem that came about in Australia, or certainly in Australia, was it was 90% coconut peat and 10% cork. Problem with coconut peat is very fine, and when it gets dry, it actually does break down. And I've seen one of the fields in Adelaide at the time, it nearly composted and turned back to dirt. And so over the years, and because it breaks down and gets very fine, it then actually clogs or stops the drainage properties of the synthetic field. So they then recommended with coconut, if you're going to use coconut, you actually need irrigation systems. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that was just defeated one of the main benefits of petroleum business. But it just really defeated the main purpose of the synthetic field in terms of reducing the overall life costs of a soccer field. So there, a couple of companies just went to straight cork, and the issues with cork, and I haven't seen it in Australia, but I have seen some photos, is that it is significantly lighter. It's half the weight of rubber. So if you don't get your drainage right, if you don't get the water through the system and get it out underneath the system and it floods, yes, it can be picked up and moved. But effectively, that rubber will do the same thing. I've seen plenty of rubber fields where the drainage doesn't work and it floods, and because we're on a slope, the rubber in the high area is picked up and it moves down the bottom, and you see it the next day when the water's dissipated, you see this great layer of infill sitting down the bottom. It is a matter of, you can just sweep it back up, you can regroom it. There's been a ELS Hall Park in Sydney has gone underwater by 0.5 metre twice since I built it, and within 3 days it's been regroomed, topped up and back to playing again. So yes, there's a cost, but it's not the risk to the client, I suppose, using cork against the benefits, in my view anyway, completely outweigh it. So cork is also, from an environmental point of view, if you comes to the end of its life, you can actually use it on garden beds and as a mulch or as an organic product. And that a lot of people will say, well, that don't like it, will say that it breaks down. I don't believe this is true. They didn't put cork in bottles of wine for 50 years to keep the wine in a condition that where the cork would break down and get inside a good bottle of grain. So if you put a cork in a compost and pull it out 10 years later, I can tell you now that there's no change to it. It has its own properties that actually stops it from breaking down. A new one that I had heard about and I haven't really seen is olive cores. In the States, they're the pips, the olive pip, they're actually crushing, and they're using that as an organic infill. And I'm talking right at the top as the playing infill that you're playing on. There's another one is eco grind, which is basically just a byproduct. It's just the out of the foam industry. It's all the crumbs. So it's what's I suppose left over on the floor, and that is being picked up and then repurposed or reused as an infill as well, in replacement of a rubber or an SBR.